What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Tackle Tuesday, right here on Joe Bob's Bass. Thank you all for tuning in, liking, commenting, subscribing. You guys are great. Today we are talking about the Roboworm. I know I've made a little video on these before, just really talking about how great they are and how awesome their action is. Specifically, the 6-inch straight tail worm. That's my go-to. This one is Margarita Mutilator, my favorite color by far. And then very close behind here, we've got the Aaron's Magic. Okay, both of those have a brownish belly. With like this one, the Aaron's Magic is a little blue / green pumpkin kind of color to him. And the Margarita Mutilator is a little more purple, a little more see-through, okay? So essentially today, though, I wanted to talk about my 3 favorite ways that I rig this worm and why I think or believe that those ways catch me fish, aside from this worm already being great. All right, so let's get up close. Just going to show you a little bit of a couple different hooks, a couple different methods that I use to catch some big ones on these, all right? All right, folks, so first up, I love to drop shot these worms, all right? This specifically is the 5-inch. That is what I'm going to be drop shotting on almost all the time, okay? So I essentially use just a size 1 drop shot hook here, all right, straight, and then essentially just come up through the nose, and I'm going to, oops. It's always trickier to do this behind the camera instead of right in front of your face. I'm going to thread that thing on there quite a ways so that when he pops through, that worm can sit all the way up to that eye of that hook, okay? I want that sitting straight, give that hook a little bit further back on the body. Not that it makes a huge difference on something like a 4-inch worm here, but that is how I'm going to rig that. I know a lot of drop shot guys will do it differently, just like a nose hook here, right? And kind of let that bait sit right at the end of that hook. And that can be great too. It just depends kind of what your bite is doing. So pay attention with how, either way that you're doing it, pay attention to where that hook is set in the mouth of the fish once you catch it, all right? Number 2 is going to be a shaky head, okay? Now, this is not, this is more of just an EWG ball jig, but it'll work for this demonstration, okay? I love these too, by the way. Basically threading it upside down, again, onto the hook, about 1/4 inch, pushing that through that belly, all that salt in there, you'll feel it. Okay, threading that all the way up onto that EWG. I went a little far, that's okay. And then finding where that hook's going to come out on the back. I always just kind of hold it there with my thumb, go as straight up and down as possible, and get that thing through there, okay? And like I said, I went a little far on that end, that's okay. And then if you want to make this really weedless, if you're bouncing it on rocks or doing whatever, you can stick that hook point in there. And boom, guys, this thing will just stand down almost like a Ned rig. And the reason I love these Roboworms is they're just so responsive, right? So they're not going to float up like a Z-Man or something and stand up straight like this, but they're going to just kind of flop over. And every little twitch you give, every little spin, every little nuzzle of that rod, that thing is just going to be flailing in a super great way, especially through cover. All right, guys, and last but not least is really just a weightless worm hook, Nico hook, whatever you want to call this, just a round hook, okay? I do like to use an O-ring for this because these baits have great action. But, you know, a fish or two, if you're just hooking it through the middle of that kind of chunkier chunk right here that it gives you, it's going to rip through there pretty quick. So I like to use this. It definitely does give you another fish or two, and they don't spit the bait as easily. So you might not just catch one and have it flail out of its mouth because it rips off the hook, right? So I like doing this just weightless. I have not even tried with like a Nico weight or something here in the nose. Really, I've just done this on that 6-inch worm. There's not a whole lot of weight there, so I definitely am throwing this either on a BFS or a spinning setup. All right, keep that in mind, using probably maybe 15 or 20 pound braid with 8-pound fluoro leader. And that just really, guys, I mean, especially around tules and different kinds of vegetation, around rocks too. I mean, just floating that thing over a rock pile. I mean, this thing can definitely get bit. Of course, without a weight or anything, I'm not throwing it in super deep water, so keep that in mind. I'm more of a shallow fisherman anyway. So, but those guys are my 3 favorites And yeah, this one by far the one that I've gotten the most bites on. Just weightless Nico hook, wacky hook, O-ring hook, whatever you want to call it. All right, folks, there you have it. There's my 3 takes on the Roboworm, the drop shot. I couldn't even remember drop shot, the kind of a shaky head presentation of some kind, and then a Nico hook, a wacky hook, whatever it is, just weightless. Love using that O-ring. Even the 6 inches, or the 5 inches, I should say, that are slimmer than a typical wacky worm, they're still going to have that O-ring fit over that little chunk, maybe 3/4 inches or so that they've got on there to hold that on there just fine. I've used them tons of times. Take my word for it. Do it. Don't just hook straight through the bait unless you really have to. The other nice thing is they're not as fat as wacky hooks, so you can easily slide that O-ring on without having the tool that a lot of people use to get them on their wacky hooks or their wacky worms, okay? So check them out, guys, if you have not. Roboworms, they are absolutely fantastic. My favorite finesse worm. And as soon as the water starts warming up here in probably June or late June or early July, I'll be throwing these all the time. So check them out, guys. Go get yourself a Roboworm and go catch some fish.